So it's great to see you. Great to be engaged in a little bit of different movement. I've been quite active the last few days. So this, for me anyway, is going to feel like a nice supportive practice for mainly the upper back, the neck, shoulder area. So let's just begin. Once you've kind of settled in, we can come to a position of comfort. So knees bent, soles of the feet on the floor, and just softly moving the knees back and forth, windshield wiper movement. And if you can slow this down enough to, when the knees go to one side, just turn your head in the opposite direction. Then come back to center and knees to one side, turn your head in the opposite direction. And just go at a pace that feels skillful here. So you're getting a little information about the general state of your body this morning. And then come back to center and with your arms in a sort of a, either just straight out to the sides or the goalpost arms, cactus arms. Just gently press your arms into the floor and then release. And just pay attention to how much you're letting the low back come off the ground. So not too much arch in your low back as you press. Keep your center, your core toned, but just press into the forearms and then release. And just feel musculature around the shoulder blades. Great, and just release and relax for just a couple of breaths here. You could rest your knees together if it was uncomfortable to hold them apart. And then just with a little pressure on your forearms, just slide your arms straight and then slide them back to the goalpost arms. With a little pressure into the floor, just a little sort of isometric resistance. And if you feel like you're pushing really hard, back off just a little bit. Just make it about a 20%, 30% effort here. Okay, and then bring your arms right above your chest. Take opposite hand, opposite elbow, and just slide the whole arm set up back and forth, right to left. And then coming back to center, can you slide the arms above your head? Now, this might have something to do with the length of your humerus, your upper arm. So maybe you can't get it all the way behind your head, but so just move this arm set up towards your belly and then over your head or up towards over your head. Sort of back and forth a little bit there. Some tightness in the shoulders. Or not. And then release, interlace your hands above your chest and press the palms up towards the ceiling. Bring your arms behind your head. Release the cross of your hands and let your hands come down to your sides. And repeat that all over. So interlace your hands above your chest, press your palms up towards the ceiling. Arms come behind your head onto the floor if possible. Release the interlacing and let your arms just sweep down to your sides. Do that a few more times. And kind of what we're going for when we do this on the floor, because we can do the exact same thing sitting up, but the contact of everything with the floor gives us some information. Maybe one shoulder is more sticking out more than the other. You might not have an even um, back, resting on the floor and evenly. The back might not be resting on the floor evenly. So just fun to explore those things. And then from here, just stretch your legs long, stretch your arms overhead, reach and stretch through your body, just creating a little bit of space through the whole sideline of your body. Okay. And then you'll need to grab the 2 socks or onions or tennis balls, have your block handy. And you're going to take the 2 items and put them right underneath the trapezius. So it'll be just at the top of your back. I have my back to you if you need to look, but you know that tight spot probably, right? Just to the right and left of the cervical, the lower cervical spine. And you're gonna rest on that spot and then just bring your arms down to your side. And you might have to, once you're down, you might have to sort of roll and adjust. And try to have your chin not tipping up towards the ceiling, but the back of your head into the floor. And then just feel the pressure here into that big muscle that gets very tight on most of us. So obviously the socks don't give quite as much pressure, but you get the idea, and you could find something to use at another time to feel that a little deeper. But we're trying to release some of that tension here. And if you're not feeling it as much as I'm indicating that you might, you could press into your feet, take your block on its lowest setting, and set it right underneath your sacrum. So now there's going to be a little more pressure on that spot. And even with the rolled up socks, you'll probably feel that a little deeper. So this is a great way to release some tension here if you get tight up in this spot on a regular basis from computer work. I get tight here from riding my bike. So if you tend to tighten up in this area when you ride, you could use this little technique to. Okay, now bring your arms alongside your body, palms down. And just like we do quite often when we do dynamic bridge, just sweep your arms up and over. And then bring the arms back down. And you should feel that muscle. And it might feel really good, or it might be really painful. So just go to a point that feels okay for you. A few times. Keep your belly toned. Yeah. And the next time your arms come alongside your body, you can just lift your hips and take the block out if you set it there, and come down onto your back. And then roll to the side, cross your ankles, grab your mat, somehow come up to seat. And then you'll take the 2 tennis balls, socks, whatever, put them about a half an inch to an inch away from one another. And we're going to shoot now for the rhomboids. So we're going to be aiming for that other spot. So now we're aiming for a little bit lower, but right sort of, if you make wings with your arms, and you feel your scapulae there, that spot right below there is what we're going for with the balls. So you have to sort of lower yourself down, and you might have to play around till you find that spot. But it's right lower inner tip of the scapulae. I am going to take a block to put my head on, and then I'm going to rest on I'm going to press into the rhomboids there. So I feel this I get pretty tight here too. And I did go climbing yesterday, so I'm feeling all these muscles. So let's try about 15 more seconds on this spot. Okay. And then any way that feels gracious and safe to come out, you could just roll to one side, grab the edge of your mat, and press into your elbows and lift yourself up. And then we'll come up to a seat. And here you could roll your shoulders up, down, back. We'll take the prop there, the balls, socks, whatever, and set them aside. And just find a comfortable seat here. And just move through your shoulders a bit. Good. And then let's take left hand to the floor and inhale the right arm up. And then exhale to come over, bending through the left arm. I'm not mirroring you, so might look different than you. So really get a nice opening here in the side body. Let your neck be open. And then as you inhale and come back up to sitting straight up, top arm reaching up to the ceiling, reach over and just take the side of your head and bring your right ear towards your right shoulder and reach your left arm away. Okay, and then from here, turn your gaze over towards your right bicep as you bring your hand sort of to the back of your head. So now I have my hand on the back of my skull. And then I'm going to gaze down at the floor a bit. So it's almost like my nose is in my armpit. I'm gazing down at the floor. Opposite arm is reaching away. Great. And then I can slowly release my head back to center, release my right arm, roll shoulders up, down, and back. And then right hand to the floor, inhale the left arm up, exhale over, bending through the right arm, the kickstand arm. And opening, keep both sit bones firmly planted here. Great. And then you'll inhale, coming back up, top arm reaching towards the ceiling. Take that hand over to the other side of your head and just give yourself a soft stretch, left ear to left shoulder, reach right arm away. And you might have your fingers on the mat with that right hand, or it might be suspended in air. Kind of depends on the length of your arms a little bit. Then from here, you'll turn your head towards your left bicep and take the back of your head now and kind of tug a little bit so your chin comes down towards your chest and your nose is almost in your armpit and you're looking down at the floor or your left leg. Great. Then you can slide back up, take your head back to center, release both arms, do a little soft roll through your shoulders. Great. And then we'll come to tabletop. So in your tabletop, just a few cat-cows to start. Framing the movement with your breath. And then coming back to a neutral spine, and just a couple of shoulder push-ups, we call them, or scapulae push-ups. So just let your chest sort of sink down towards the floor without bending your elbows, and then press into your hands and draw your shoulder blades away. So protraction as we let the chest sink towards the floor without bending the elbows, and then press, retract the shoulder blades. Mm-hmm. A couple there, keeping your low back relatively still. Okay. And then we'll kind of test this. So you'll need your block. You'll set your block on the lowest setting on your sacrum. All right, and so just moving in the upper back, and the block stays nice and still. And once you feel like that setting is pretty doable, turn it up to the next setting. So just protracting, retracting the shoulders, getting a bit of cat-cow, just really up high, not in the lower spine at all, not in the pelvis. Good. And then once you've done a few that way, try the highest setting. Just getting it on there is a little bit of work. Okay. And just moving through the upper back. You can go pretty slow here and feel the articulation through your upper back without disturbing the block. Great. And you can take the block and set it to the side and just stretch back to a child's pose or puppy pose. Let your arms get a little bit of rest there. You could even bring your arms all the way to the sides, full balasana. And then when you come back up, we'll take forearms to the floor. So you could interlace your hands, bring your forearms to the floor. All right. And then we're going to take separate the forearms and let's slide the right elbow back towards the right knee. Take the left hand behind your head. So the right elbow, you're on your forearm, and the right elbow is back towards your right knee, your left hand behind your head. And then you'll inhale and open up, and exhale, bring your left elbow down to your right thumb. Inhale and open up. Exhale and bring your left elbow to your right thumb. Okay, do a few more there. And then we'll come back to forearms in front, like you're going to go up into dolphin. Just rest here. You might even move the lower back a little bit. You might feel like, oh, I'm not getting enough work here. And then slide your left elbow back to your left knee. Take your right hand behind your head. And then inhale and twist open. And exhale, bring your right elbow to your left thumb. And repeat that 4 to 8 times. Okay, and then this last time, you can bring your forearms back to the floor out in front of you. Then palms into the floor, really feel pressure under the ridge of your knuckles and into your fingertips so you don't have a whole lot of pressure on your wrists. Turn your toes under and press your hips up and back, downward facing dog. Head between the biceps and feel the weight in that ridge, the knuckle ridge, more than the wrist if possible. Maybe walk out the legs a little bit and really try to create some length in your back here. So really axial extension here, lengthen through the back and the spine. And then we'll come forward into high plank. And then you can lower your knees to the floor and come all the way down to your belly. Make a little pillow with your hand, resting your forehead on that pillow and drawing your tailbone down between your heels, pressing the tops of your feet into the floor. And then whatever hand you have on top, just inhale that same elbow up and then release it down. And then try that again. Try that maybe 4 to 6 times. Just inhale the elbow up, set it back down. Keep your hips, your pelvis pressing into the floor nice and level here. And then once you've done a few on that side, switch so that the opposite hand is on top. And inhale that elbow up. You might be a little more restricted on one side than the other. Just lifting the elbow only. The rest of your body is quite still. And then once you've done 4 to 6 on that side, you can go ahead and just remove your hands, rest your forehead on the floor, or turn and rest one cheek or temple on the floor. And then you can go to the other side. And a little nice little action for the neck anyway, to go side to side. Kind of prefer that. And then we'll come back to center and bring your hands right to our low ribs. So lift up the upper body. Keep the back of your neck long. Press your pubic bone into the floor. So hands are barely touching the floor, barely weighted here. And then just lift your hands off the mat. Keep the back of your neck long. So you're not really looking up, you're just looking right over the edge of your mat. Great. Okay, and then stretch the arms out to the side, turn one direction and rest your head down. You could even rock the hips back and forth here a few times, whatever you need to support a little letting go. And then the other side, turn to the other side. Okay, and then come back to center. We'll do that one more time. So hands to the low ribs. Press up like you're coming into locust. Right? And then remove your hands, just hover your hands. You can feel a lot of work in your back here. Draw the elbows in towards your side and up. And 2 more full breaths here. And then stretch the arms out to the side, release your head down. Let your hips move back and forth softly. You get any release, any tightness in your low back, you want to release that. Turn your head to the other direction. Okay. Come back to center, forehead on the mat. Reach your arms out in front of you with your thumbs up, thumbs pointing up. And then lift the arms up and set them down. Lift your arms up and set them down. You might not get them off the floor very far. Lift up, set down, lift them up, set them down, and repeat maybe 6 to 8 more times. Keep pressing your pubic bone into the floor, lengthening your tailbone. As you lift up and sit down. Good. And after you've done your number, bring your hands back to your low ribs, press yourself up, table, turn toes under, hips up and back, downward facing dog. So feel some nice length in your back here. Squeeze the legs. Pedal out your feet or take a twist. Just allow yourself, or just, hang out here in downward dog for a couple of breaths. Really lengthening through your back. Okay. And then you can come to your knees and sit back on your heels, sit on your block, or stand on your knees, or come to standing and grab your strap. I'll show you how to set this next part up. So you want to get your strap to be folded into 2 equal parts. And then you're going to put it around your neck like you're going to put a scarf on or a tie or whatever. And then you take it under your underarms and you'll cross it behind you. So I've got my back to you, cross it behind you, and then bring the tails to the front of your body. All right. So here we are. They sell this on Amazon for 20 or 30 bucks and whatever, and you already have this. So you can see how this is positioning my shoulders, in particular the head of my humerus, the head of my arm bone. Instead of having that forward, I'm pulling myself into better posture. So you can pull on these tails a bit. You can really feel that. Now, if you have a long enough strap, you could tie this as well. And sometimes when I'm feeling like after I've done something like a long ride or climbing or something, and I've done a lot of work in my upper back and I need to support myself, I'll just tie this and wear it for an hour. Okay, but let's try this. So we're pulling on these tails. We're going to bring our to kind of keep the tension here. We're going to bring our elbows to the side of our body, right? And then you might have to slide your hands up, and then just pull your hands into your back body space behind your elbows if possible, or even with your elbows. So now notice, if to do that you get an excessive arch in your low back, draw your low ribs in, draw your navel up and in. So stay really firm without overarching here. And we'll hold it for 2 more breaths. Hands, if possible, are behind. Elbows are pinned into the sides, and hands are behind the elbows. Okay. And then from here, you can release that. Ooh. Great. And then you'll have your strap now still hanging over your neck, and you can just take your strap out and just do a little shoulder flossing. And again, it really would be fun for you. I think I'm able to look at myself on the computer, but it would be fun for you to do this in front of a mirror and see if one shoulder leads, one shoulder is up further than the other. It's kind of tricky to keep them even. So probably a strength or flexibility disparity there. So maybe another time you could do this in front of a mirror as you floss. Great. Okay, and then we'll set the strap over to the side and come back to downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg up And rounding through your back, come forward and bring your right foot between your hands. Set your left knee down on the floor and come up to a 90-90. Good. Now, really draw the inner legs towards one another. And then with your hands on your hips, can you lift from sort of the low ribs up? So you're not overarching the back, but you're lifting from the low ribs up. And then you could reach the arms up and feel that same lift, but instead of coming deep into your low back, keep your low back in a neutral position and lift from the low ribs up. Like you're trying to prop your shoulder blades or lift your shoulder blades up with the low ribs. Great. Inhale your fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then exhale your hands down around your front foot. Turn your back toes under and come back to down facing dog. Inhale, left leg up. Coming forward with the left foot between your hands. You can take your right knee to the floor and come up to the 90-90 on this side. Start with just your hands on your hips. Draw your inner thighs towards one another. Feel really strong in your face. And then lift up through your ribs. Ribs like low ribs and shoulder blades lifting up. And then try lifting your arms up, but keep the low back neutral. Reach fingertips up towards the ceiling. And exhale, hands down around the front foot. Turn the back toes under and sweep your left foot back to your right. Downward facing dog. Now in this downward dog, just take a couple of those shoulder push-ups. So retract and protract your shoulders, your shoulder blades. So you have a little movement in your upper back, but the low back stays in a neutral position. Then inhale the right leg up and bring that foot forward between your hands and stay lifted. Keep your back knee lifted, bring your hands up to your front thigh and come into a high lunge. Now feel like the lower ribs are lifting the shoulder blades. So you have good tone in your core. Lift your back hamstring and then reach your arms up. Good. Reaching through the fingertips here. Inhale. On your next exhale, just turn your back foot and open up into Warrior Two stance. Great. So don't worry too much about the leg position or what the legs are doing, but see if you can bring your torso right up out of your hips, like your rib cage is kind of lifting up against the shoulder blades. And then we'll turn the front hand and reach forward and drop your front forearm onto your front knee, extended side angle here. Top hand could be on your hip, or you could reach that arm up and over. Press the forearm into the leg and the leg back into the forearm. And then find a neutral position with your shoulder blades. So they aren't completely protracted or retracted. Good. From here, just slowly straighten your front leg and bring your bottom hand into your shin or your thigh for Trikonasana. And then sweeping the top hand back to your hip, come back to warrior two. Inhale, turn your back foot, turn your hands back up towards the ceiling, come back into your high lunge. Keep the low back neutral, lifting the ribs up like they're trying to lift the shoulder blades. And then exhale your hands down around your front foot and take your front foot back, downward facing dog. Good, we'll try that whole thing on the other side. So get some length through your back in this down dog or some rest, and then inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale, bring it forward between your hands and press yourself up into a high lunge. You can start with your hands on your hips and really feel the lift coming from the low ribs, shoulder blades, and not an overarching in the low back. And then reach the arms up. On your next exhale, just turn the back foot and open into warrior two. Don't even worry too much about your feet here. And just feel like you're lifting the upper body right out of the hips. Good, and from this position, we'll reach forward, lean forward, bring your left forearm onto your left thigh, and your right hand either on your hip or overhead in extended side angle. Press your forearm into your leg and your leg back into your forearm. Really feel the shoulders. You know, we're not completely relaxed here, so we don't have our left shoulder into our ear and our shoulder blades completely sort of retracted here or protracted, but there's a little retraction. And you might even feel that muscle the rhomboids, you might feel that second place we put the tennis balls. You might even feel that work right here. Great, and then as you straighten through the front leg, top arm comes up, bottom hand comes to the shin or the thigh, and you find yourself in Trikonasana. Good. Then you can sweep the top arm, come back into the warrior two. Then turning the back foot, turning the shoulders, turning your hands up, come back to high lunge, crescent lunge. Inhale. So notice here your tendency. So I have a tendency to overarch in the back to get the lift. See if you can lift from the low ribs up. Back hamstring reaches towards the ceiling, and then fingertips up, 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 and then fold over the front foot. Bring that foot back, downward facing dog. Squeeze the legs. Stay nice and strong in your dog here, but feel the length through your back. All right, then rock forward to high plank. Pressing the hands into the floor, pressing your upper back up towards the ceiling, and then can you just let your heart dip a bit towards the floor? Same thing we did on our knees, and then press back up. Let your heart dip a little to the floor, arms stay straight, and then press back up. Do that a couple more times, and then press back to downward facing dog. Squeeze the legs. Great, bring your knees to the floor. Bring your big toes together, knees wide, and drop down into a child's pose with the knees wide, arms extended out in front. And then sweep the arms around, all the way around, and take your hands to your sacrum. And then press yourself up. Press yourself up so that you're on your knees. Bring your knees together and sit on your heels, or take your block and come into Virasana and grab your strap again. Bring your strap behind your back, palms in on the strap, and reach the hands down towards the floor. Okay, and you should feel that, squeeze the block with your ankles. You should feel that same nice posture, right? And see if you can get a sense of where your head is lined up. So we want the head right over the spine. So the back of the head is lined up with the sacrum. So my palms are in. I'm pulling the strap apart a bit, and maybe I can bring the strap off my back even. Okay, and then we can release, let that go. Bring the hands in front. Okay, so we really want to counter. We're always, or we're mostly in our lives working in front of our bodies. We're at a computer, we're gardening, or we're fixing something, we're building something, but our shoulders are in flexion. So countering that every once in a while is really good for our shoulders and upper back. All right, so let's come to standing, and we might have to be a little creative here. We're going to try to find a place in our space where we can bring our arm into sort of a 90-degree angle, and then sort of pin it. Door jamb is great, but even a wall space, I kind of pin it against the wall space, a little bit of space, and then open up and really stretch the front of the shoulder. Okay, so it could be just a little piece of wall. It could be, if this was, you see this here, if this was a door jamb, I could have my bent elbow in there and just opening, like every time you pass through a doorway, right? You can kind of open the front of the shoulder here. And I have a little bit of a space over here to do the same thing. Okay, great. And then if you have a space, my space is not ideal, but I'm going to bring my arms into that same goalpost position. I'm going to press into the wall here. And I want to feel myself, I really want to feel my shoulder blades engaged against the wall. And then I'm just going to do some slides up and down. Okay, and this is really good for, and if you don't have the ideal space right now, you can just try it another time. But we tend to, I'll get a little closer to the view here. We tend to, most of us have a little head forward thing going on. Gets really bad as we get older. Usually it gets worse as we get older. So we can counter that with the strap setup or this little exercise. Again, we have our elbows bent. We're in the cactus arms, and then pressing into the wall and sliding up and down. You could do it without the wall too, just like I'm doing right here. It just really helps with that forward head thing. Okay. All right. And then once you've done a few of those, last thing is, and again, wall space. If you don't have wall space right now, you can do this another time. I'm going to bring my forearms into the wall. So you know how we do an L every once in a while. You can do this with or without your mat. If it's a little slippery on your space, maybe have your feet on the mat. I'm going to come in with my forearms to the wall. I could have them interlaced, my hands interlaced. I could have my forearms parallel. And I'm going to get my feet back. And again, I don't have an ideal space, but you want your arms about shoulder width apart. And then you can press And you might even do some protraction, retraction in this position. Or just hold, building strength here. And then you can extend one arm, extend the other arm. Good. And last then, I'll bring my hand to the wall, 90 degrees. I'm grabbing onto something here, but it doesn't matter. It could be flat. And then I'll just turn my body out slightly. So similar to what we did with the bent arm shape. So I can do this with my arm at 90 degrees. Reach my fingertips up and bring my arm into more of a 45-degree angle relative to my body. Spin my torso out. Walk my fingers back down. Take my palm, the palm of my hand into the wall. And then turn my body out. And you could get creative with this. This wouldn't have to be wall space. This could be a door jamb. It could be the edge of your chair, right? And then try the other side. Stretch out the other side. And so if you can, when you turn, you can kind of turn your feet out. So you're getting a little twist, but the arm stays in the relative same position. Walk the hand up, 45 degrees. And then walk the fingers back. Come all the way down. So your arm, and you want your arm lined right up with the side of your body. Palm into the space that you're using. And then just turn your body away from your arm. So really stretching the front of the arm where you can feel this work in your upper back. And we'll release that, and then we'll come back to our mat. And starting at the top of your mat, let's go through a vinyasa together. So inhaling, reaching the arms up, and exhale, fold. Set your hands to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. Coming forward to high plank and lowering either with your knees or through full chaturanga. Bringing your hands to the side of your body, pressing up into a locust, and then releasing the hands. Just let the hands hover. Setting your hands down and pressing yourself back through table or up all the way and back to downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, let's inhale the right leg up and bring it forward between your hands. Drop the back knee and inhale into a lunge. So keep the inner thighs working towards one another and feel for that lift from the low ribs up. Then exhale the hands down around the front foot. Step back to downward facing dog. Come forward into your high plank. Lower as you wish. And come into an upward facing dog, a locust position, anything that works for you right now. And then pressing yourself back up, table, back to downward dog. Inhale the left leg up and sweep that leg forward between your hands, coming back to your back knee and inhaling up. Reach the arms up. You can come forward with the hips, but keep the lift coming out of the upper back, mid to upper back. Keep that lift sort of like the ribs are pressing up on the shoulder blades, lifting everything up. Reaching fingertips towards the ceiling. Then exhale your hands down around your front foot. Step back, downward facing dog. Come forward, high plank. lower wherever you wish to the floor, and then come into some back bend. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. And then walk your hands back to your feet in a halfway lift. Halfway lift. Bend through your knees now. Bring your hands forward so you're squatting. You can lift your heels or not. Okay, and then press up to standing. Tadasana. Line up the back of your head with your sacrum. Back of your head with your sacrum. Good. And then we'll lower back through the same squat. And then come right to sitting on the mat. Let's roll to one side and do a half bow. So open up the front of the leg. So resting on just a half bow. Imagine you're on your side doing half bow, right? And you've probably stretched your front of your leg many times this way. And just come through center, stretch the other. Great, and then we'll come back to our belly one more time. We're going to take the right arm out to the side and roll, kind of extend our fingers and roll up on our right side. You can prop yourself with your left hand. Let your head rest here. Slowly releasing, coming through center, stretch the left arm out, walk the left fingers over, press yourself up. So you're kind of on your left side. I've got my left arm extended. I'm really opening that front shoulder space again, propped up with my right hand or not. And then roll back to center and right over onto your back. Great. Now you might try the same little, almost like a typewriter thing we did here with opposite hand on opposite elbow, just kind of bringing your elbows side to side and then the whole business up over your head and forward, just feeling into maybe even some circles here as we settle, come to the end of practice. Good, and you can come to lying flat on your back or have your, with the legs straight or have your knees bent. Press into the back of your head, tuck your shoulder blades underneath. Really feel good contact there. If you need to do another twist or a happy baby or something else to finish, take that time to do that. And you can take Shavasana and with the legs bent, knees in, legs straight. You might even get your tennis balls, onions, rolled up socks, and just put those right back up underneath the trapezius. And it feels kind of nice just to have the socks here for the end. Just releasing any tension that might have, over tension that might have built in your practice. And then just see if you can receive the gifts of your work. So nothing more to do right now for just a few minutes, but receive. Well, let your feet fall out to the sides. Soften your eyes and let them rest back in their orbits. Soften your ears. Soften your jaw. And just let everything be supported by the floor. You could bring your hands onto your heart center in some gesture of gratitude or prayer. Acknowledging yourself for showing up for practice, anyone else who makes practice possible for you. And stay as long as you like on your back or roll to one side. If you'd like to join me in your seat, you could come up to sitting. Thanks for being here today. I know it's a little challenging to have different kinds of classes, but I appreciate you showing up today. And may the merit of our practice encourage all beings to unveil the hidden brilliance that lies within. Namaste.